a rat and then taking the woman's immune system and putting it in the rat and then studying it. And I'm like, why aren't you just studying the woman? Why are you going to all this work? And they tell me, well, the problem is women are too messy. We can't control them. You know, we can't control what they do, what they eat. Rats, nice, pretty science. And that's the problem. We do nice, pretty science, but it doesn't really relate to messy women. So at the Dr. Susan Love Research Foundation, we're focused solely on research and solely on women. We fund seed grants to do research on women. We're very interested in looking at not just the cancer, but the breast, and trying to understand why the breast is such a source of cancer. We collaborate in research. We have grants that we get from a variety of government and other sources, and we work with a lot of the different, we're independent, so we work with whoever has the best lab. We work with Hopkins, Columbia, UCSF, John Wayne, a lot of different groups. Wherever I can find the right partner will work. We also we educate about research on our website, and we do blogs and we do webinars, trying to get the public more sophisticated at understanding research. And we facilitate research with the Love Avon Army of Women, which many of you, I'm sure, are acquainted with. I'll just briefly, it's been around now for a couple of years, and it's been enormously successful. We have, thanks to you and thanks to funding from the Avon Foundation, we have over 365,000 women signed up and a few good men. And we have 70% of the women in the Army of Women do not have breast cancer. So it's not a registry of people with cancer for clinical trials, which is what some people sometimes think. This is it's a fancy email list of people who are willing to be in studies. And we e-blast out, the scientists come to us with their research, we vet it, we e-blast it to everybody in the Army. We don't match. Because even though you may not fit a study, somebody you know might. And every time we send them out, they virally get sent out further. So we've done studies, everything from the Avon-funded milk study, where they thought they have a new marker in breast milk, and they needed women who were breastfeeding and had a breast biopsy, which is actually not that common. We got them, they sent out the little thing, you put the milk in, you shipped it back, they did the analysis. They were so successful recruiting women that they enlarged the study to make it bigger. And they had tried La Leche League and all those usual means. We did a study looking at, was also actually a study looking at whether grapefruit affects how you metabolize estrogen for USC. That one was easily recruited in LA, and people had to eat grapefruit for 6 months and then not eat grapefruit and get blood tests. And I mean, it's amazing what women are willing to do, and these are not just women with breast cancer. I mean, the one that got me the most was one in Chicago that thinks that the bacteria in our gut affects how we metabolize estrogen. And so they needed the control group to come and have sigmoidoscopies and biopsies. And we had women take the bus in to be part of this. I mean, we recruited everybody they needed. I was amazed. I would never have done that. But these people they're really motivated, they're really altruistic, and they really, really want to do it. Now, the problem is, it's not enough. Because the researchers aren't giving us great studies to recruit for, and the women are getting frustrated. They said, we signed up to find the cause of breast cancer, and you're doing studies about yoga in survivors in Indianapolis, because that's what we're getting sent. So what's the next step? And we spent some time thinking about it. And what we've decided is we really need something completely different. So in conjunction with City of Hope, the Beckman Research Institute, we're launching the Health of Women study. It will be soft launched this summer, and the big launch will be October, and to the public. And the Health of Women study is the first global online cohort study that everybody can be in. So cohort study is like the nurse's health study or the teacher's study, but those have always been top-down studies. They've been studies where epidemiologists in the back room come up with the questions. They send you out a 20-page questionnaire every 4 years or something, and then you fill it out and you send it back. And that's all well and good. But the problem is they keep asking the same questions over and over again. And we haven't really made any progress. We're still talking about the same risk factors. Age of first period, age of first pregnancy, when do you have menopause? Well, that explains about 30% of breast cancer. So 70% of breast cancer, we have no idea what causes it. You know, could it be infectious? Sure. Could it be, you know, a different hereditary? Could it be environmental? It could be any of those things. But we're not really looking. We just keep asking the same old question. So one of the things that's different about the Health of Women study is we're actually going to democratize research. Instead of the questions coming from the top down, some of them will, of course, but also from the bottom up. Anybody in the study can submit a question they want to see asked. And then we'll ask the question, we'll analyze it, we'll use it as a way to teach people how research is done. I mean, if we want to finally ask, you know, if we want to ask underwire bras, we can ask underwire bras. And then we can say, okay, this is what we found, this is how you can interpret it, you know, this would be the next step if you were going to figure this. And some of the questions, you know, we may get the really best questions from the public. In cancer of the cervix, I was told that the way they figured out it was sexually transmitted was that people noticed that this guy's first wife died of cancer of the cervix, and then the second wife died of cancer of the cervix, and they said, maybe it's him. And that was the beginning of figuring out that it was a sexually transmitted disease. Well, that observation could come from anybody. That doesn't need to be from a scientist. That could be, anybody can notice those kinds of things. And that's the kind of clues and hints. So in some ways, we're crowdsourcing research on women's health. We're going to get the answers from the people and the questions from the people who really are in the trenches finding it. And we really have to do this because, you know, even though we've made all this progress, 108 women die of breast cancer every day. This is not, you know, we've made a lot of progress, but that doesn't mean it's still killing people, not still killing people. It is. And so we've got to figure this out. We've got to figure out, we want to look at, in the Health of Women study, at the long-term survivors, the ones that were diagnosed 30 years ago, maybe didn't have chemo because we weren't doing it. And had what we would have, you know, we would have given them chemo and Herceptin and all that now, but they're still alive 30 years later. Well, what did they do differently? You know, what are the hints on those? In all the research studies we do, we look for 5 years and then we stop on our top-down research because they can't afford it. Well, we can collect all these people. We can also collect different subgroups, women with metastatic disease, and what are the questions they want to do. Because this is all done online, and so you can have skip patterns, you can look, we can look at men with breast cancer, we can say, and if you say you're a man, then we won't ask you when your last period is. You know, we won't go through those. We'll ask those questions. So doing it online really gives us a lot of opportunity. There'll be short modules, and you'll get them every 2 or 3 months. So instead of having a 20-page questionnaire every 5 years, and by the time you get it, you forgot you did it 5 years ago, we're doing it on different topic-related questions. And again, the topics can come from researchers or they can come from the public equally. We're going to ask the public if they're willing to give donations to help support the study. So we will try to get traditional funding, but you know, if you have 365,000 women and they each gave $5, that's $1.5 million. That would actually fund the study and give them ownership and even more investment in seeing this research done and in filling out the questionnaires. So again, democratizing the research where it's actually owned in part by the people who are doing the research. And then we're going to also make sure that the data is older, because classically in these studies, the data is owned by the people doing the study. So even though you filled out the questionnaire, you don't own the data. It's owned by those, and they decide whether another researcher is worthy of looking at their data or not, or whether their question is good enough or not. We're going to just open it up. The de-identified data will be there that any person, researcher or not, who has a hypothesis, who wants to see, you know, if there's a connection for this and that, could just go online and look at it. You know, we've been hearing a lot about crowdsourcing. They took, you know, where they had that game to fold DNA or protein, figure out how to, I don't know if you heard this, but there's a game, we were just at a meeting where they were talking about it. They had this protein, they couldn't figure out how it folded in the cell. And the scientists, they've been working on it for years and years and years. They made a game, they put it online. Somebody who was working in a library in the UK as a clerk worked on it at night and started to figure out. There were 13-year-olds working, and they figured it out. I forget who figured it out, but they figured it So the answers are, we've been a top down, and now we see, we see certainly with publishing now, everybody can publish and it's online. You see it on all different areas of the internet. Why not research? And why not particularly this kind of phenotypical research? It's not blood tests and genes, but really, observing what it is that we do differently. And so that's going to be really the essence of how, and I think it's going to revolutionize and probably scare the epidemiologists to death. But the first couple of, what we'll do to keep them happy is the first couple of modules, we're going to ask the same questions they've asked on Nurses Health Study and Teacher Study, so we can show how our population is the same or different from all the other studies. And then we'll just open it up. Then we'll start doing other interesting things. So I'm very excited about this. I think this is really the next wave, not just, as I said, for breast cancer, and if we have, I'm still moving to get more and more women, so if we can get 500,000 people and some good men, we allow men to be in the Army, in the House, the Health of Women study. It's just, they have to put up with being in the Health of Women study. We put up with being part of mankind for a long time. Put up with the Health of Women study. But women get, the other thing is women are messy, and so we don't just get one thing. So to have a study just focused on breast cancer with 500,000 women is crazy, because there are women with breast cancer and MS, or women with rheumatoid arthritis and breast. So then it gives us a way to also start looking at some of these interactions in other diseases. And as we evolve, we may expand it to further than breast cancer as well. We'll start out with breast cancer because it will be October, and I'm known for breast cancer. But we're gonna see if we can't take this model, expand it out, and women can direct you to their kids and to their husbands, since they pretty much control the health of the family anyway. It gives you a way to do this directly. It will be on the computer. It'll also be on the mobile. We have a mobile app that you'll be able to use, which will open up a lot of opportunities, particularly increasing the accessibility for diversity. So I'm excited. I feel I'm getting old. I feel a sense of urgency. My goal has always been to eradicate breast cancer, and I'm still going to do it. I'm still working on it. But I think the only way we're going to work on it is if we really expand it out to everyone. And if we really take the next step. I think we've done a great job on awareness. I think most people, as I say, when the NFL is wearing pink gloves, I think we've achieved awareness. And I think most people are aware. There are a lot of good groups doing, funding treatment for the underserved or mammograms. That's great. But really, my goal is let's find the answer. Let's find the vaccine equivalent for breast cancer. We can be the generation that ends it. And I really think we have to be the generation that ends it. We can't pass this on to another generation. It's been around too long, and we're too close. But to do it, it's going to take all of us working together. We can't just depend on the scientists to come up with the right ideas. It's going to come from all of us. And so it's time to democratize research and figure out how to get rid of breast cancer. And I welcome you all to join us. Not just, in your professional, but join the Army, join the House study, be part of finding the answers yourselves. Thank you.
So before we open it up for questions with Dr. Love, there's a flash drive that has all the information you need about the Health of Women study, the Army of Women, and the foundation. And we think that this is really a great opportunity for all of you. It's a great call to action to put out to your leaders. It's something simple that they can do. And, with this